Everybody wants to be the best, but not everybody wants to do what the best do. Welcome to Personal and Professional Best. Today's program is 2024, a second half outlook. There are certain fundamental truths in life. One is that everybody wants to be their best. You do, I do, we all do. We all want to be our best personally. We all want to be our best professionally, which is the reason why we created the Personal and Professional Best program. To inspire you, to challenge you, to remind you, to educate you, and to love you enough to hold you accountable so that you live your best life, which will bless all the lives you love and all of those that you cross paths with. 2024, we just finished the first half and just kicked off the second half. Before we share a second half outlook, I thought we should take a look back at the first half of the year. We kicked off 2024 with the same goal we have every year. Individually, become champions. Collectively, build a championship season at home, in the workplace, everywhere, with everyone. The start of the 24 season was filled with adversity. Georgia failed in its three-peat effort. Bama, they came up short as well. And then the GOAT, Nick Saban, retired at 72. Coach retired not because they lost. It was time at 72. But rumor has it, it also had something to do with the transfer portal. At Supreme Southeast, we continued to experience adversity. It was bitter cold in January, and we experienced a 10-year low in production. Beyond the adversity in our market, we dealt with our own adversity internally as we experienced a bit of the transfer portal as well. I didn't retire, however. I'm only 62. Adversity, the most challenging market in history. So we sought some inspiration from one of our old friends who knows a bit about adversity and how to overcome it. So you've been successful. I mean, when you were young, you had goals, to play in high school and then to start in high school. And then you had goals to get a scholarship and to the UGA, that scholarship. And you had goals to be All-American there. And then you had goals to become, an NFL player. And you did all those things. And then you had a goal to be a motivational speaker and an entrepreneur and a foundation and affect and influence. Is there a formula for being successful in life?
There's definitely a formula without a doubt. And as they always say, success leaves clues. And one of the first things I believe, as far as where it starts, when you talk about having a good life, a full life, a fulfilled life, is you got to be a little bit uncomfortable where you're at. You got to be uncomfortable with your circumstances. If you're just okay, if you're just going through the motions, if you're satisfied with where you are, necessarily you're not going to really strive to do anything to change your situation. So I really believe it starts really there, becoming a little bit uncomfortable. Like you know something, there's something more. I believe God gives us that desire to want more, to know that, man, if I'm a child of God, then I got to have a high standard for my life. I got to want more for my family. I got to want a legacy, be legacy minded. And so once you have that desire, that burning, and you tap into that, man, then you get to your vision. What's that vision? What does that look like? You start being like, for me, 10 years old, man, I walked into the stadium not too far from here, and I just imagined, man, before, and I didn't know.
You were out on the field?
Yeah, I was at the 50-yard line. Little league coach took me, and that became my vision. That became my big goal. And then from there, it was about attaching that goal to something meaningful, something powerful. Like for me, it wasn't just about getting to the University of Georgia. It wasn't just about me getting to the NFL. It was about, man, what is this going to allow me to do for my family? What is it going to allow me to do?
Benefiting other people.
Yeah. So it was attached to something so powerful, so strong. It wasn't just about self-validation or somebody, a crowd clapping for me or anything like that, man. It really meant something to me where I was like, I got to do this. I'm seeing my mom waking up 4 a.m. every single morning, my dad fixing shoes 12 hours a day. I got to change the situation, man. And so that's what my goal was attached to.
Every champion and every championship deals with and overcomes adversity. Beyond the adversity of the market conditions and the pain we experienced with the transfer portal, we were also reminded that it's not just business, it's personal, as one of our family members suffered a great loss. we all continue to pray for our brother Camilo after the loss of his son Gabriel and his best friend Esteban. This event reminded all of us that the adversity we face in business pales in comparison to the adversity that we face when tragedy strikes those we love most. With this loss fresh on our mind, I spent some time with Coach Mark Richt, a UGA coaching legend who's in the middle of his own struggle with adversity. He offered some timely advice on living your best life, even in the midst of adversity.
You know what I'm looking forward to? Dancing with Jesus.
Amazing, huh?
That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Because I never could dance to begin with, very good, when I didn't have Parkinson's, and now that I have it, there's not much. I can rock back and forth a little bit. But,
I think
the first thing I want to do is dance with Jesus.
You know, getting in shape is the number one thing people talk about when the new year starts. They're right to do so physically. They're also needing to take care of their minds.
Sure.
And get that right, feed themselves all the right things. People spend too much time on social media arguing with people they don't know about things they can't win arguments on. We're giving up a lot of our time in life to things that don't make us any better. That transformation you made, that definition of success you created, you're sitting here today with us. And there's probably people that think, I feel bad for Coach,
right,
that he got Parkinson's. And
right.
I know in talking to you, you're like, don't feel bad for me because we're all going to get something.
Well, you could sit there and say, why me? But I never thought why me. It was more of why not me? I mean, I did everything possible to destroy my immune system, not sleeping enough, having a stressful job, eating poorly. I mean, all the things that I, as a coach.
All the things that you coached your kids not to do.
I'm doing it. And so it wasn't like a shock that something like this would happen to me. But the bottom line is, and I'll close you this. The church we went to in Destin, Florida, my wife and I, they had a service that was built around healing. And so they gave her, at the end of the service, if you wanted to, you could come up front, come to the altar, and then ask for healing for something, right? Well, so I go up there, and I'm sure everybody thought I was asking for healing of the Parkinson's, but the truth of the matter was I was asking for healing of the thoughts, the sin habits in my brain that don't disappear when you become a believer. I mentioned my spirit and soul being made right with Christ. My behavior is not perfect. And my behavior, we all got junk in the trunk, so to speak. And, I prayed for the healing from thinking things I shouldn't think about. And so that's why I'm so excited about that future glorious destiny of that glorified body with no sin and no disease to match my spirit and soul, which has already been made right with God through Jesus Christ.
Thank you, Coach Richt. We continue to lift you and your family up as you stare down Parkinson's with the same determination that you stared down the Florida Gators. Like Coach Richt, all of us at Supreme chose to do what the best do. We stayed on mission, and we continued to focus on controlling what we control. We invested our time getting better. In March, the weather got a little bit warmer in our business, and things began to heat up just a little. Investing our time getting better in January and February led to our adding 3 new plays to our playbook. Actually, we upgraded 1 play and added 2 new plays. We upgraded and relaunched the Supreme Guarantee, now called the Supreme Safety Net, a huge financial sacrifice, a huge personal sacrifice. But it's not just business, it's personal. The second play, new play, we installed with Supreme Essentials. Talk about best. We took our collective mission, serving others, best, and delivered a groundbreaking tool that is impacting hundreds and leaving all of them better. Over 1,000 agents have asked us to co-brand Supreme Essentials, and over 600 customers have now improved their personal budgets, improved their understanding of managing their credit, and they've also received over $600,000 of financial credit when they closed. The third play we installed was C30 Plus 2, a pricing enhancement. 150 million of originations have taken place year to date since we installed C30 Plus 2. We call it Supreme Platinum Service. 3 new plays, game-changing plays, because we, the best, we never settle for less. In the middle of all of this activity at Supreme, many of our associates took the time to chronicle just how much working at Supreme means to them, and we titled the program, It's Not Just Business, It's Personal.
Supreme's mission of serving others before self means to me that when you have someone that needs you emotionally, financially, in any way, that you're there for them, that you are there to listen, you're there to help, and you're there to support them no matter what that means in your life.
It's absolutely contagious when everybody that you're working side by side with has that same attitude. It just creates a situation where you're doing it as a team and you're representing the company in a way that most companies just don't take advantage of.
So our mission at Supreme is to serve others before self. It is how I've based my entire career. It impacts my personal life by giving me a sense of accomplishment. Like I'm doing what I feel inside is the most important thing I can do. And that is bring value, bring care, bring humanity to humanity.
When you serve others before self, as I've learned from Pat Flood, it just creates a whole dynamic that flips the script and makes going to work every day a lot more positive. I think it's more positive for me as an employee, and it's more positive for the people around me who I serve. So it's made a tremendous difference. It's a whole flip of the thought process of what work is.
When I met Pat Flood for the first time, I realized he cared about people the exact same way that I did. And I saw an opportunity that I was going to be able to bring to people the kind of service I've always wanted to deliver.
It's 7 o'clock in the morning and Pat did the sales meeting. And as he always did back then, he started the first 15 minutes of that meeting talking about serving others and nothing about the mortgage business. And he still does that to this day. And I left that meeting feeling like I needed to be part of this company.
I know what kind of job I can do. I'm a good loan officer. I need behind me a team that is better than I am. That when I throw the ball, I know that they're going to deliver it across the finish line and that they're going to do it on time. They're going to do it with care. They're going to do it in such a way that I'm proud. I'm so proud of the team that I work for.
I moved my family, including 2 young kids, 12 and 10, 1,000 miles from New England to start a new life here in Atlanta, all based on this concept of serving others before self and working for Pat to do that. And so I've worked for him now for 24 years without any interruption. And I know I'll never work for anybody else in this business.
I don't think I've apologized to anybody for the service we've delivered in the 10 years that I've been here.
In April, the weather continued to warm, and so did our business. We thought it was the perfect time to remind everyone that to become your best, you need to stop settling. I want our audience to get to know you a little bit. So if you would, tell us your story.
All right. So it's in the book. The first chapter is pretty much my story growing up. And what I want people to hear and feel is that where you start is not where you end up. And that sometimes things that appear bad are really awesome. And that those are the things that shape your perspective. Those are the things that energize and inspire if you lean into it in that way. And that I'm a fan of silver linings, that every perceived negative has a lesson, opportunity. And maybe you're just a cast member in somebody else's play or part of their story, and you were just part of their story. And so for me, my parents were divorced at 1. My mom met my dad in Austria. She ran as far away from her family as possible and met my dad in first semester in college, the youthful age of 19. And immediately I appeared. And what was first a mistake ended up being who sits before you. So there are no mistakes. Once again, I think there are higher powers that were operating, convinced my dad to move back to the States. And he was midway through medical school, and he's an amazing success story all his own today. But at the time, they were young and made decisions young people make, and ended up divorced. And my mom remarried, and second father adopted me, and that lasted a few years and was pretty cool. But in the end, after that, my mom was, she was given a life sentence for cancer and supposedly not to live 6 months. She ran to Venezuela and didn't come back for 17 years. I was 10. Ended up with adopted father, stepmother. And unfortunately, a year into that, I was a little more than I guess they could handle and ended up in military school, boarding school. And that was probably the saddest year of my life because I woke up, I cried myself to sleep and woke up really feeling unlovable. And I think there are a lot of people that aren't certain of their capacity and they're truly loved at the core. And that's a gift I want to provide for young people inside of my story to say, hey, wherever you are today isn't where you're going to be tomorrow. If you lean into the silver linings aspect of this is part of the journey and it's part of your book that you're going to write one day.
June 2024. Lisa and I love a cool summer. And so we normally go to Boston to escape the dog days of June. Unfortunately, cool summer hit our business in June. We could have spent our time being complacent. We could have spent our time complaining about the weather in our business, but we didn't. We invested our time the way the best always do, controlling what we control. In June, we launched not 1, but 2 Habitat homes. We normally do 1, but sacrifice always precedes best. And so we sacrificed, and it hurt so good. We built 2 homes in memory of Gabriel Escandon and his best friend, Esteban. Because of all your efforts, we were able to help create a lasting legacy and build better futures together with Habitat for Humanity.
You all, I'm Rosalind Merrick. I have the pleasure and honor of serving as president and CEO of this great Atlanta Habitat for Humanity. And we are so excited today to celebrate 2 amazing homeowner families, home buyers, soon-to-be homeowners, both Christine and Janir. We're starting with Christine today to celebrate her reaching this incredible milestone of buying and building her very first home for herself and her family. And she has not done that work alone. We've been honored as a partner to walk alongside her in that journey, and we haven't done it alone either. Thank you so much to Supreme Lending for your incredible support. We're going to celebrate, talk about you today too. We are so proud to say that we have been in the business of increasing affordable home ownership for families in the city of Atlanta and South Fulton for over 41 years now. And over those 41 years, our work has touched over 6,000 family members. The numbers are big, but the names tied to those numbers are even more impressive because it represents real lives impacted. Thank you for saying yes and for all the ways you show up to make that dream a reality.
Mindful of the lingering challenges in our market, we wanted to offer our partners and you some hope for a better future. So we invested time with Doug Duncan and launched our first News You Can Use live market update with hundreds of realtors in attendance. Doug promised us all that hope is indeed on the forecast. Doug Duncan was the original inspiration for what has now become Supreme Essentials. He's been an incredible friend to Supreme Lending. So the good news is we pulled sales forward into 2021, 22, halfway through. That would have happened. We didn't get those sales in the last couple of years. And now we're in that place where the Fed is maybe hopefully at the final battle or so of getting inflation to get to a lower rate, which will bring our rates down some, and your forecast reflecting that shows housing sales up 4% this year over last, which is, thank God, we're up. And then another increase the following year, provided that they do get this thing under control as has been expected. And it feels like, it roughly right. It's been moving in that direction, not exactly and as quickly necessarily, but it's moving in that direction. You see housing appreciation. I'm looking at your numbers. You all are thinking about like a 4.5%, 5% appreciation number this year and less than that next year.
Yeah, if you going back to that pre-2000 time period, if you look at house prices during that same time period, the average house price appreciation was about 4%. So, and if you assume that at some point supply catches up so that the bargaining power is roughly equal between buyers and sellers, a 4% annual nominal appreciation in house price is certainly reasonable. What I would say, the one thing to think about is during that time period when interest rates were at 6%, the economy was growing at about a 3% annual pace in real terms. So if you think forward from today, the Congressional Budget Office makes a formal estimate of the potential growth of GDP, and they forecast it at about 2%. So you had growth at 3%, nominal mortgage rates at 6%. If you bring that, it suggests if it's a 1-for-1 shift in the relationship, a 2% real growth would get you a 4% mortgage rate.
In June, we invested time planning our first ever career month to ensure we invest ourselves in leaving you better and as well ensure that we do all we can to 5P. No complacency, never settle. We've won 4 straight championships as the #1 employer in Atlanta. Last month, we also planned and executed our first NAR event to help educate our realtor referral sources through a once-in-a-generation change that will take place in August and will impact all of us in the industry. Again, hundreds of realtor referral sources attended our News You Could Use live program, and the feedback was outstanding. And so, we planned an encore performance for August 20th. Additionally, we also began investing time working on what I expect to be a program that will have even a bigger impact than Supreme Essentials. No kidding. We expect to launch the Supreme Homebuyer Journey digital educational tool in late August. Stay tuned. So March 15, 2024, there was news, right? It was arguably one of the biggest news stories in real estate history. Just the news of what took place. Tell us what specifically happened, if you would.
Sure. So there was a settlement of a national class action, lots and lots of details of it. But at the end of the day, what happened is that NAR agreed to substantial rule changes. And that is what is fueling all of this, is the NAR rule changes and everybody getting ready for them and learning how to navigate through them so they avoid real estate jail.
What are your thoughts about how does a realtor convey to a consumer the accurate, less emotional truth about what's happened?
Authentically, right? So however you communicate best with your clients is the right way for you to do this. So if you feel like, I feel like this is a great touch, I feel like this is a tremendous opportunity for agents to touch their database and say, hey, have you heard? Do you have any questions? Love to connect with you and answer any questions, or just love to connect with you, period, right? This is a tremendous opportunity to separate who are the trusted advisors in this industry and who are the functionaries, right? Who are the people that are hiding behind some business practices that are now
going to get exposed.
They're going to get exposed. It's creating transparency in our industry. And the trusted advisor in the future is going to have more clients and make more money. and the functionary is going to have fewer clients and make less.
So here we are at halftime. Time for in-game adjustments with one goal in mind: to invest ourselves to ensure we become our best in the second half of 2024. Let's start with what we don't control: the market. For the first time in over 2 years, the market outlook in the second half of 2024 is better, with a 7.5% increase in volume over the start of last quarter's business. Interest rates have already come down a bit and are expected to go down a bit more, maybe quite a bit more. There's now a better than 90% chance the Federal Reserve lowers rates in September for the first time in 3 years. And the Fed has never only lowered rates once, ever. We don't control the weather or the market, but we just may have an unusually warm fall and winter based on the outlook. Complacency. It's the enemy of best. So we will, as always, not spend our time complaining about the market, what we don't control. We will invest our time controlling what we do control, getting better. What does that mean? We'll soon update and upgrade our F30 plus 2, our V30 plus 2, and our jumbo pricing strategy. We'll invest to upgrade our Supreme Connection communication program for our BC, before contract, qualified prospects, and our AD, after dispersed, closed qualified prospects who will no doubt want to refinance as interest rates decline. On August 20th, we'll invest and host our next News You Can Use live NAR Encore program. Soon after, we'll launch the Supreme Homebuyer Journey digital educational tool. On September 25th, we'll be special guest at the Keller Williams Southeast 25th anniversary celebration. And then on October 8th, we'll again invest with Doug Duncan on News You Can Use Facebook Live, hopefully with an even more favorable fourth quarter 2024 outlook. And we're not done. Investing our time, getting better, controlling the controllables. Complacency, it is the enemy of best. And complaining, it is the arch enemy of best. By the way, complacency leads to less than best, which then leads to complaining. We began the 2024 season wanting to be our best, become champions, win a championship together. The first half of 2024 was filled with adversity. It was hard. We chose at Supreme to handle hard better. We chose to invest our time getting better. Did you? The second half outlook for 2024 is better. Professionally, it will no doubt, however, be filled with adversity because life is hard. The best simply understand that life is hard and they don't spend their time, they invest their time. Personally, if you, like most, had goals at the beginning of the year, you may have gotten sidetracked. We all did a bit. Personally and professionally, we all today have a choice to make. Best or less than best. It's your choice, it's my choice, it's our choice together at Supreme. There's one more thing on all of our calendars in the second half of 2024 that will impact all of us. And I wanted to offer a bit of advice about how to handle hard better. We work in the best place, Supreme Southeast. It's up to us, each one of us, to make it better. We also live in the best place, the United States of America, and it's up to us to make it better. Scripture reminds us that a house divided against itself cannot stand. Dr. Bernice King shared the best wisdom with all of us several years ago on this topic.
And for all of us in the audience, there weren't any caveats, like love your neighbor if they're lovable. Love your neighbor if they vote the way you do, or if they are the same color of skin. He just basically said that we need to love our neighbors. Is love a choice?
Well, before I say whether it's a choice or not, I want to take it one step further. Because Christ went on to say, I give you a new commandment, which to me overrides that old one. Not overrides it, but it transcends it. Because we had no example. It's one thing for somebody to say, that's why I was telling you earlier, the example of my mother
Sure.
was more powerful. When the Old Testament had those same commandments, there was no example. Jesus became the example. So he's saying, do it like I did it. I showed you what love, unconditional agape love is. And so to me, it's a commandment for those of us that are in Christ. Yeah, we can reject those commandments. So to a certain extent, it's a choice to accept Jesus fully into your heart and to govern your life. And that's where the love comes from for me. So the choice is not the love.
The choice is about first Jesus and letting the governor then, because then he unleashes the love.
He unleashes, because the way that my father used to teach it when he talked about agape love, which is the foundation of his nonviolent philosophy and methodology, is that agape love is God's love flowing in and through the human heart.
My best advice, all of you, don't do what everybody else does, because you'll get what everybody else gets. Do what the best do. Practice daily, personally, professionally, with everyone, everywhere, our relationship creed. I'm for everyone. I'm not for everything, but I'm still for everyone. Right or left, black, brown, or white, believe it or not. Invest your time and invest yourself in leaving all you cross paths with better than you found them. If you do, best is waiting, and I'll meet you there.